My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Ampire.
Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone, hi everyone, hi everyone. You can't see this today, but I'm wearing my Oakland A's hat in spirit with the Oakland A's who played their last ever game in Oakland. Wow.
It's defunct day because I'm wearing a Montreal hat. So I don't know. Synergy today.
I bought an Oakland A's hat because my son plays on a team that is the Athletics now. So it was just actually in support of him. And as it turns out, now I have a classic hat that I own of a team that doesn't really exist in the place where they should exist. And I feel sad for these people when this happens. Terrible. Should never happen. It's awful.
It was the highest attended going away game ever. They sold it out. All the other, I guess, going away games hadn't ever sold out. So that includes Montreal, Cleveland, and there was one other one as well that was not sold out. This was the highest sold one. So
if you enjoy a good scolding, Larry Beal, who's old school OG ESPN anchor, who's been on TV out in the West Coast forever and now in the Bay Area, there's like a 3-minute clip of him just going off on this owner, like who wrote that letter the other day and said, like, you know, we tried to stay and all this stuff. And so if you enjoy a good scolding, you could go listen to this. It's pretty good. He just goes after the guy. And, you know, in these cases, like, I don't believe these teams belong to these owners. I mean, I know they do, but they're really public trusts. And when you do something like this, you're failing the public, and shame on you, really.
No, I think Chelsea Janes had a really good tweet on it yesterday. She pretty much said, we all know the fans, you know, across the league know this isn't the right move. There's no way that executives see this and know that it's not the right move. And the people that are letting it happen also know it's probably not the right move, yet everyone is letting it happen. And it shouldn't.
Letting it
period.
happen.
It shouldn't.
Yeah.
So.
No, it shouldn't. It's terrible. All right, let's get into Commanders in a minute. Let me start with the Cowboys, who did win last night, beat the Giants. It was one of those games like we had with the Giants, except it was roles reversed. All they could do was kick field goals, couldn't score. Dallas, this is this pivotal moment. This was a car wreck game. They very easily could have lost, and they got by. So this is often a good sign for a team because they're not playing very well. So them not scoring a bunch of points or blowing out the Giants, I didn't think that would happen last night. Like, I did not think, like, most of the time the teams that are kind of in a funk like they are, and they're kind of tearing apart at the seams and they're getting made fun of, they don't turn around and win 42-7. And so that's why I thought they'd lose last night. And they hung on and won. So I keep looking at, like, the path to me for Washington to have a real shot in December and January to actually sneak into the playoffs is Dallas has to go the wrong way. That's the way I look at it. Like, they have to. There has to be an opening for second place in the division. And so I was rooting pretty hard for the Giants last night because I thought if they lost, things would definitively start to really go haywire down there, but they got away with it. So I'm hoping they're getting picked on for playing it close, but I know that's a big deal that they won last night. I know it.
No, and I mean, it's funny. The Giants looked just like the Commanders against the Giants. They couldn't convert in the red zone. They were moving the ball. Once again, Daniel Jones didn't look that bad when it was all said and done. He actually, like, looked okay. They gave Malik Neighbors the ball a million times, which I guess is the formula to win. But what I thought was funny was after the game, they had, you know, CeeDee Lamb doing like the post-game press conference or the post-game interview. He didn't even look like he was enjoying that win. Like, that was more of a, like, thank God we won because I know exactly what everybody was about to say. And the fact that he and Dak were doing all the post-game stuff and they didn't even seem that happy with the win. They were just, like, more relieved. It tells you everything you need to know about the feeling around that team.
Yeah, they're off. Their team's not as good as it was a year ago. And the body language is bad, and the way they're kind of acting is bad, but they're good enough to be better than they've been. So they survived this. Their schedule gets a little tough. I think they got Pittsburgh coming up and a couple of others. Like I remember looking at last week going, if they lose this one, it might go sideways because they're playing good teams coming up here. But they got by and they won. So there's that. And then we'll wait and hear about Micah Parsons, who got hurt last night, and they're saying high ankle sprain. And if that's the case, then he's either going to have to shoot that thing up, tape it up, and try to play on it, or he's out a few weeks. So we'll have to see what goes on there. And then it was terrible to see Neighbors get hurt because he's had just a tremendous start to his career. He looks like a monster. And, you know, I don't want to go on the soliloquy about the Thursday night games. They're not going anywhere, but we have an inordinate amount of injuries in them because of these turnarounds. And I don't love it from that perspective. And like when you see star players, I know they can get hurt in any game, but when they start going off like in numbers, it's hard not to point back to the short rest and the turnaround and be upset about it. Like it's the last thing I want to see anybody like this get hurt. And watching in the fourth quarter, you know, Parsons get wheeled off, Neighbors have to go to the hospital, get checked out. I mean, like, yeah, this could happen in any game, but it feels like on these Thursday games that, you know, you're not taking into account the turnaround. And so I just have a hard time with them. And I have a hard time when I see the stars go out in these games too.
I mean, also remember that turf is also cursed. Like everyone gets hurt on that field nowadays. I don't know. Like I've come around a little bit on the Thursday night games only because even players have out loud said now they like having the mini bye, and players have outright said like they get to have a weekend off essentially. And so I don't know. It's pick your poison. They got to play 17 games now, no matter what, within a time frame. So I don't know. I'm with you. Yes, people get hurt, but at the same time, these players have actually said out loud too they enjoy the break. So.
All right, let's get into Commanders and Cardinals this weekend. I think, you know, number one important thing, and because I have not spent the week in Arizona, it's hard for me to really kind of give you ear to the ground what the viewpoint is. But I think one of the big hurdles for Washington is going to be just mentally, can they get over what they did on Monday night and how much everybody's in love with them, and specifically their quarterback, because we just haven't had this in a while. So because I'm not there, you know, it's hard for me to really weigh in on it. I'm flying out there tomorrow. But I've talked to Keim and I've talked to Ben Standig, and, you know, I've asked them, like, what do you think? And they've all kind of told me it does feel very business as usual. They are all getting a bazillion questions about what happened last week. But they said that they've acted pretty steady and even. They've all stayed medium through the whole thing. And I think it's important here because this was always going to be a rough turnaround. Monday night away, straight out, you know, out there, turn around, play a team that's very competitive. I'll talk about them in a minute, but I do think it is issue one. How do they handle it's one game, you know, like that's the craziest part of the whole thing. It's one game, but because this one game hasn't happened like this at this point in a season with so much promise attached to it and feeling ahead of the curve, that it does feel really different. And how are they going to handle it? Because all of us around here have been on a joyride for 5 days. And so I do think it's a big deal. Like, are they over it and moving on? Because I am by Friday now. It took me a couple days, but I am. Are they? And it's going to be important to see. This is a long season. It's the NFL. One game means nothing. So, like, let's see what happens this weekend.
I think the best thing that happened with them after winning that Monday night game was not coming back here. I mean, seriously, I think them actually insulating themselves by going somewhere else and then just seeing the same amount of reporters that they would have seen regardless, or, you know, the usual faces that they normally see. If they were back here, you know how this works. We would get the people that don't normally cover the team in that locker room asking questions that,
right.
You know, we get the reporters that go in because it's the hot story of the week, and all of a sudden it becomes a little circusy. And the fact that they literally were like, nope, we're just going to go right back to business in Arizona, I think that's the best thing they could do. One thing I'm worried about is, you know, I know it's business as usual, but you are going from a team that was desperate at 0-2, has a star quarterback, primetime game, to a place that could be anything but prime time and playing the Cardinals. It's one of the more pedestrian opponents and, places to go. That's the only thing that worries me. Not to say that they're going to have a letdown, but sometimes it is harder to kind of get up for a game like this. That's my only worry pretty much.
Yes. And then there's this part of it, which is Arizona's been really bad, like over the last few years. Some of it was Kyler was hurt, like for a good portion of it. They're 4-20 in their last 24 home games. 4-20. This is their third straight home game, right? This is one of those where I agree. Like, they didn't do this on purpose. They didn't go, oh my God, we won that game, fly to Arizona. It was pre-planned, obviously, that they were going to do this anyway. I think it worked out that they stayed away from the noise about as much as they possibly could, albeit they all have phones and they've all seen clips of me screaming all week, and they've seen everybody else's reaction, and they're seeing tweets from Wale, Dale Earnhardt, Michael Bublé. It's unavoidable. Aaron Rodgers is talking about them. It's unavoidable what's going on. But I do think it is better served that they're off on some college campus away from at least here, where, to your point, if Sherry Burris shows up here, or some other major ESPN reporter shows up, Jeff Darlington shows up here, and it becomes a circus for them. And I do think it is actually helpful that they're in a 4:00 window. They're not the national game. They are playing a pedestrian opponent. No offense, because I very easily could see them losing this weekend, but it isn't they're turning around and playing the Eagles, or they're turning around and playing the Ravens this week, because then I think it would have been real circusy. So I think all of that is kind of worked out, that they have a couple of weeks here where they play Arizona and Cleveland, and win or lose, I think it'll settle everything back into this spot where I think they're comfortable right now, which is don't get too far ahead of yourself. And the reason why you can't get too far ahead of yourself is, and this is where I think I've been grounded by it in reviewing it, their defense is flatly not good enough to win a lot. It is going to have to get considerably better. They are not good stopping the run. They are not good stopping the pass. The warts that they have, which we thought they would have, which is rushing the passer and covering receivers, they can't do either one of them successfully for any period of time. So I was thinking about this today. I'm sitting there going, they haven't punted since week 1. And they barely won the 2 games that they had. Their offense could not do better, with one exception of they screwed up in the red zone a bunch of times against the Giants. They haven't been stopped in 3 weeks on a single drive, and they needed a buzzer-beating field goal to win one of them, and they had to hang on for dear life in the other. So their defense has to get considerably better than what it's been, and I don't know what the answer is to that, because I don't know that I see a secondary that is going to demonstrably be a lot better than it already is. And they're going to have to figure out a way, and this comes down to Quinn and Witt, and this is what's on them. They have to figure out a way to get better pressure schemes somehow, not one-on-one, but scheme it up, because otherwise they are getting torched right now. And you can't ask Jaden Daniels to time he touches the ball. It won't work out that way.
No, I think also the desperation you can tell is happening with, even the reporters, they're saying oh, Forbes could be back on Sunday. And it's even they're latching onto him to possibly make a difference. I'm oh God, this is not ideal that Emmanuel Forbes now all of a sudden is someone that everyone's looking forward to maybe making a difference, even though we know what we've got in that guy. He couldn't cover at all in week 1. So yeah, I don't know how you scheme it up with the players that you have. You're going to have to try to figure it out. And yeah, I think the thing that people are kind of forgetting on Monday is Jaden had a literal perfect game. Had he played any worse, any pass, anything that was less than perfect, they would have lost. It took a perfect game to beat the Bengals. Can he do that again? I wouldn't put it past him, but the chances are low that he has another perfect game, especially, on the road on the West Coast on a short week.
In watching the Cardinals, I am impressed with their defense in a couple of ways. They play really hard. That whole speed, you're going to like the way we bring it. You'll see that with them. Budda Baker looks as good as he's ever been. This guy, Dennis Gardeck, who made a big play, you'll recall last year in the opener against us. He's a sneaky, very good football player. He had 3 sacks in the game against the Rams the other day, stepped into a lane, had an interception. He's a very smart player. Zaven Collins has kind of come along. they're not like Washington. They're missing parts to be in totality a really effective defense. But the pieces that are there that are good, they're fast, they move through the ball, they're very tricky with their schemes. So this could be interesting this weekend. This is kind of a mix of what Cincinnati and Tampa Bay did. They're going to bring some elaborate schemes. I like what this guy Gannon does. I don't think the deck is stacked enough for him to be good, but they have a lot of energy on that side of the ball. So I think this is a dangerous game from that standpoint. And then with Kyler, he's a slot machine. Like, he's gone back to what he's kind of always been. So he's got his speed back. So that's what makes him really crazy dangerous. You're chasing a cat again. So like that part is really hard. But like, he will do crazy things with the ball in unscripted moments. And so I'm in thinking about this, I want him running around a little bit. I know it's like kind of crazy to say, but I actually would prefer it because I think if he gets clean pockets, he's actually been very good this year. His passer rating's over 100 this year. He's already connecting with Marvin Harrison. The guy has 3 touchdowns already. And he has 3 in the last 2 weeks. And he's like really coming on. And we can't cover anybody right now. So I'm willing to give up a couple of big scramble runs that gets oohs and ahs along the way because Kyler does these type of things for the hope of on the off schedule stuff. He'll throw some really poorly thought out passes because that's what he is again. He is so fun to watch, but he's a slot machine and it's either jackpot or bust. And I would rather take a chance with that than play him straight up and keep him in the pocket. No, like he's come back. His passer rating's over 100. You need him running around a little bit and you need him when the plays break down to make a couple crazy throws and hopefully it flips the game for you. That's where I am on him.
No, I mean, you're basically waiting for him to screw up. I mean, I think that's going to give them the best chance to win this game. I mean, it's the same thing as Monday, right? The Bengals didn't screw up a lot, but the Commanders screwed up less. That's how they're going to win this game. And Murray, yeah, you're right, is a slot machine. I also say this too. He's not that accurate either. Like, he was throwing balls all over the place to Marvin Harrison. I'm sure you've already seen it where it's like, how do you overthrow that guy? He was doing it a couple of times on Sunday, and that's how they're gonna take advantage. It depends what he is. If he's the good Kyler, then they're gonna get burned multiple times, and it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I assume Washington is going to put more people in the box to try to stop their run game. They're actually very good at running the ball. James Conner is very good. They were like top 5 rush yards last year. Like, I don't think people know that. And it's carried over here. They weren't very good against the Lions, but they were very good in their first couple of games. Conner's very good. If I'm Washington, I'm stacking the box and I'm going to make Kyler throw, which sounds a little nuts, but I think it's really your best way to victory here. Otherwise, they're going to grind you out. And then you got to help on Marvin Harrison. And he's got to beat you with the other receivers, which he is not really going out of his way to throw to. So the only way to make him uncomfortable is you got to try to take the run game away and then bracket Harrison and hope that he's going to make some crazy plays. And along the way, you're going to give up a couple ooh and ah scramble runs to him because he is who he is. But I'd rather give that up. Like, not like when Logan was talking about Cincinnati last week. Go ahead, run the ball better than you have all season. I would wait. Every time you run the ball with Zach Moss or Chase Brown is a time you're not throwing the ball from Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. I'll take it. And that's what I want here. I actually want the ball out of Conner's hands. I want Murray running around a little bit. I want to bracket Harrison and demand that he throws the ball somewhere else and take our chances that way. That's how I feel about it.
I'm with you. And especially too, like, if you're going tit for tat for the offense, you want them to burn more clock anyways. I mean, this has always been the phrase that I'll keep using all year is striking distance. So if you can slow down their offense just enough and just have it a 1-possession game again, like, I feel like that's all you can pretty much ask for moving forward.
I agree. All right, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's get into the rest of week 4 next. Bram and Callow show ESPN 630 Sports Capital.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
All right, welcome back. Bram wants to show ESPN 630, the sports capital. All right, let's go through the rest of week 4. Saints and Falcons. It's turned into a great rivalry in the NFL. 2-1 New Orleans, could easily be 3-0, kind of blew it at home last week against the Eagles. Atlanta kind of blown a couple of games, in particular the Chiefs one. They had a shot. Maybe the referees, they're probably still pissed off at the refs. Who knows? This one's down in Atlanta. I've actually been semi-impressed with Atlanta's defense, a little better than I thought it would be. They did make a couple of personnel upgrades with Justin Simmons and Matthew Judon, so I think they covered up a couple of holes. Give me Kirk and company at home here. I actually think that they're going to win, and I think both of these teams, I know the Saints boat raced their first couple of games. I think last week's a little more indicative of probably what we're going to get. If they don't get beat deep by Olave and Shaheed, I actually like Atlanta here. I think they have a little more than New Orleans does. Give me Atlanta at home to pull off a win, a one-score win.
I like Atlanta here, too. I don't buy the Saints. Those first 2 games, dropping 40-plus points. I knew they wouldn't be able to keep that up. And then looking at how little they scored last week against the Eagles, give me Atlanta here, too. I like their makeup a little bit more. The Saints were an aberration those first 2 weeks. I don't believe in them. I believe in the Falcons a little bit more.
Rams and Bears. Well. Somebody's going to be 1-3. If it's Caleb, the memes of the sad faces he makes are going to be amazing. Oh, is the Rams defense good enough to get like 2-3 turnovers and flip the game? I don't know. Are there enough stars on the other side to move the ball effectively? I don't know. I like Chicago here. I like, not by much, but I do just because I think the Rams are missing too many people. So I'm going to take Chicago here in probably a sloppy game. Bunch of turnovers.
I'm with you. This is going to be low scoring, but put Caleb on my Will Levis list. Until I see that offense actually start moving the ball and being any kind of consistent and running the ball, give me the other team. I'm gonna say McVay just kind of outlasts this team. I know they're banged up, but I'm telling you, the Bears are getting sideways fast here with this offense, and I don't see it going well against the Rams. I think it's going to be a sloppy game. Give me the veteran head coach when it comes to that situation. Give me the Rams here.
The hot seat on Eberflus is going to get scorching if they lose, frankly, at 1-3. They're already going to start talking about it. Let's see. This is a big early season game. Vikings-Packers in Lambeau. Aaron Jones goes back. Vikings haven't lost. They've been surprisingly effective on offense and defense, for that matter. The wins are for real. They beat San Francisco and Houston and boat raced Houston. Green Bay has survived without Jordan Love. I'm assuming he's going to try to go here because it seems like it's been trending that way, but who knows? We'll find out on Sunday. Ooh, this is a good one. It's a good test. Pass. I don't know. I don't really know. Well, because part of it is I don't know if Jordan Love's healthy. If he's not playing, I like Minnesota. If he is playing, then I need to see, is he effective moving around? Because he's coming back a little early from that ankle injury. And then with Minnesota, they're just so red hot right now. I think it's hard to go against them. So I'm going to sit back as a fan in the 1:00 window and just watch this one and let me know how it goes. I don't have a position on it right now.
Vikings all the way here. Brian Flores' defense is so unreal at the moment that he's got the Texans yelling at each other on the sideline. Like he got the first Diggs outburst of the season. He was frustrating them enough. Green Bay, and what I'm getting at here is Green Bay's offense doesn't impress me much to get by Flores' defense. Give me the Vikings here and they're not going to drop as many points, though. I think this one ends up being like a 20-13, 20-10 type game. They don't boat race them, but they're comfortably winning this game.
Steelers Colts. So, if you just know how things kind of work, you would just assume that Indianapolis is actually going to win because they have to. But Anthony Richardson might throw 5 interceptions to Pittsburgh. So give me the Steelers to beat them because the Colts turn the ball over way too many times. In fact, if I were them, I would run the ball 40 times and throw it 10. Honestly, if I were them, just because you don't want mistakes, and they might do that. Even if it goes nowhere, they might do that. Steelers 12, Colts 10. That's what I got this week on that one.
Oh, I'll give you a little preview on my show here. Steelers are going to win this game, and whatever sports book you like to go to, just put a couple bucks on a Steelers shutout. I'm telling you, that offense is bad. The Steelers defense has given up 10 points every week. Do you think Richardson's going to move the ball? Because I don't. So I'm saying Steelers 10, Colts nothing. Shutout.
Broncos at Jets. Well, that was a surprising win by Denver last week. That was the surprise. That was the biggest surprise of the weekend to me, was the way they beat Tampa badly. Because I've talked about this a lot. I buy them. I think they're really good. The Jets have really steadied. Rodgers has looked very good here the first few weeks. I think they're a way better team. And, they're not really, I wouldn't describe them as rolling yet. But I just think they're a way better team, and I think they're a contender as is. So Jets at home, Jets, 24-14. Give me the Jets.
Yeah, I'll go same thing. Jets are going to win this game. The worst thing that happened with the Broncos is they beat the Bucs, so now they're going to be ready for them this week. So the Jets, I don't see them, having a letdown game here. Same kind of ish score. Give me like 23-10 here. Jets win.
Another really good early season NFC game, Philly at Tampa Bay, rematch of a playoff game from a year ago, but Philly had so checked out by the time that they played Tampa. I don't read much into that because they were just so careening down the wrong way. Here's the rematch. Philly very easily could be 1-2 right now, but they're not. They seem to be saved by Saquon. Can they run the ball effectively enough, even with Saquon, to win here? Does Tampa bounce back? Hurts getting the Todd Bowles treatment. I don't know, man. I actually don't like the secondary so far with Philadelphia either. Jalen Carter showed up last week. That's actually scary for all of us. He looked like a super stud last week. That's scary for everybody if that's going to be the regular. But I don't like their secondary this week. I don't think they're quite there yet. They're too young and inexperienced. They can be had. And Jalen Hurts could get tricked by this Todd Bowles defense. Give me the Buccaneers, 23-17.
I won't even go in the route of players here. I think Sirianni was a dummy last week, and this is going to be a close game again. Give me Sirianni to mess this one up. He has made some questionable decisions. Give me Sirianni to be, the talking point of the Eagles this week. Give me Bucks 27, Eagles 17.
I'm a little surprised. I just looked. The Buccaneers the Eagles are favorites. I'm actually a little surprised by that.
Yeah.
Vegas is screaming at us that we're wrong. I mean, that's on the road. That's surprising. That's a surprising number this week. Let's see. Bengals Panthers. We've got Andy Dalton's revenge versus Cincinnati, who just kind of has to win. Give me the Bengals. I mean, come on. They might as well quit this year if they actually lose this one. At 0-3 and they have to win and beat, this team, they have to. Give me the Bengals. Bengals win.
Do you have the spread there by chance? Do you know what the point spread is?
4.5.
Give me the Bengals to win this, but the Panthers to cover the 4.5. I bet you this is closer. Andy had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. He actually was slinging it. We saw that defense, how terrible it was. I think close game. That's all. Bengals
I think the Bengals win going away. I think they're got to be sitting out there going, we can't believe we lost this game last week because they couldn't get one stop. And so watch revenge of Joe Burrow. I think they win here this weekend. Let's see. Jaguars, Texans. So the Jaguars are horrible on Monday night. I'm sure the Dougie P talk must be heating up big time. Trev, holy cow. Houston was terrible last week too, though. I just trust that Houston's just in a better place mentally to bounce back, turn around. So give me the Texans here. And until I see otherwise, like I'm done with the Jaguars. I just don't buy them anymore. So give me the Texans here.
I think I sold the Jaguars stock before it went on the market. I was so out on them heading into this year. Look at the Texans too. They lost to the Vikings. The Vikings have been really good all year. You can bounce back easier when you kind of look at it and go, okay, that's a really good team across there. The Jags are having all the wrong conversations this week. Why did you give Trev the money? I thought this was the best team ever assembled. They played your boy Mac Jones at the end, and we're considering playing him for like 2 seconds. Give me the Texans here. They just take care of business.
Pats 49ers. I mean, this really, just on its face is a blowout, but considering how many people the Niners are missing, it probably isn't. And if the Patriots show up with the defensive personnel that I know they have, I think they'll hang around. It's just, I think this is going to be a reoccurring problem for them. They just can't score enough to win games. So this is probably low-ish scoring, but I'll take the Niners at home. Like, I don't think they're going to lose, but it's a big number. It's like 11, and for the Patriots defense, that seems like a lot. They've been very competitive, but it's hard to pick against the Niners. So I'll take them.
I agree. This will be a closer game than Vegas is telling you. It's 49ers win, but this will be a close game.
Browns Raiders.
Oh God.
Oh boy, you gotta. Those two fan bases neither one of them want to watch this because they don't want to know what's going to happen. This is one of those. They're like, neither one of us feel like we should lose, but one of them has to. So let's see who shows up for that one. Antonio Pierce said business decisions. Let's see who shows up for that one. And I'll go pass. I have no idea. I don't have a feel for either one of those teams. No idea.
Give me the Browns here just because I think they're the more talented team. But it's a car wreck. Like this could be 20-19 with something stupid happening for the game-winning score. So give me the Browns, but barely.
Chiefs Chargers. We'll find out where the Chargers are. Their first 2 wins are Raiders Panthers, which I think we can all agree are unlikely playoff teams. Then they lost at Pittsburgh, but at Pittsburgh, and they're 3-0. So I'm not going to indict them too much over something like that. Chiefs have gotten by. I mean, it's all been close games. Like they could have easily lost really any of them that they've played so far, but they haven't. I don't see if Herbert's not playing, forget it. But I don't think they score enough here. I think Chiefs are moved to 4-0, knock off Harbaugh. But it'll be a interesting first real test of Harbaugh. Let's see what he looks like here in the division against Chiefs and against Mahomes and company. But I will take Kansas City for sure.
They flashed a graphic last night where Mahomes is something crazy. He's like 30-5 in his career against the division. I mean, you pick the Chiefs every time here just because of the way the numbers are. If Herbert's banged up, there's no chance. But give me the Chiefs either way.
And then we got Bills-Ravens. Bills are undefeated. It's a good Sunday night game, man.
Big boy football game.
Oh, it's a good one. Ravens bounced back, held on in a game that shouldn't have ended up as close as it was, but it was. Can the Bills, are they good enough stopping the run? That's an open question about them. I guess we're going to find out this weekend. They've had no problem scoring points. They're the highest scoring team, even with all the changes that they made. I think if this thing gets tight, then I don't trust Baltimore because they're weird at the end of games, and I assume this game's going to be close. So this could be this is one of the rare teams that might actually get a lead on Baltimore, and we'll have to see how Baltimore plays from behind. I kind of like Buffalo. I think Baltimore's a little shaky. So right now, I think in the end they're going to be fine, but they do lose their 1-3. Oh my goodness. This is a tough one. I'll take Buffalo reluctantly in what I assume is going to be a close game because these are 2 contending type teams. So I'll take Buffalo in a close game. I just think they're kind of operating too well right now. So I'll take them.
Yeah, I'll take Buffalo here too. Here's how it's going to shake out too. It's going to go one of 2 ways. Buffalo's going to score a bunch of points and then dare Lamar to try to come back. And we know how that's worked in the past. Or Buffalo's going to score a bunch of points and the Ravens are going to go tit for tat for them. And they're not going to be able to keep up. And so I just think Buffalo wins this one in the end. I'll use your mantra. It's not about who you play. It's when you play them. This is just a scenario where the Ravens are still figuring themselves out this early in the season. The Bills are playing really, really well. But if this were to happen in the playoffs, I would not be saying the same exact thing. I just think right now,
100%.
At this time, the Bills are the better team. And even if you're the Ravens and you are 1-3, you can still claw your way back in that division.
Yeah, this is one of those, call me in a month or 6 weeks. It might have a very different feeling about both of these teams. All right, we'll take a quick break. Midfielder from the Washington Spirit, Andi Sullivan, is going to join us next. Bram Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
This week's Spirit Spotlight features a fixture of the Washington Spirit, midfielder Andi Sullivan. Nice to talk to you, Andi. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
How's everything going in LA?
So far, so good. Just traveled here yesterday and getting settled, and we'll get back on the field today.
I want to get into the match from last week for a moment, get into the match this week. But I want to start off topic with you, if I can, just a little bit. So we were talking, not off the record, but we were just chatting about the growth of women's sports months ago. And it was right around when Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA. And there was a lot of hubbub about how players were treating her or not treating her, et cetera, et cetera. So I find it apropos that on the night that her season ended, we're talking today. What do you make of, in light of the season she's having, the growth of women's basketball, the obvious growth of your league and women's soccer? What do you make of the state of women's sports right now?
I mean, I think we talked about this a few months ago, that it's just only trending upwards. And obviously, like, the coverage is increasing and the storylines are increasing. And those are all different ways to attract different people to watching the game and becoming fans, and different ways to hook different fans. So, and you see those storylines brewing. I think there are a lot of different storylines and ways to look at. You use basketball example as the WNBA as an example, and there's so much going on there. So, yeah, it's just only trending upwards, and a super exciting time to be a part of it, and it's only going to continue to grow. So
I want your viewpoint, because you've been in this league for a while, and here was this team that was playing up in the Soccerplex and now is an Audi Field and has these massive rights deals all of a sudden, and Magic Johnson's part of the ownership group. Like, how do you kind of wrap your head about what's going on in women's sports, and specifically the NWSL right now?
I think a lot about our rookies and how fortunate they are to come into the Spirit in particular, but the league at this time, or maybe next year's rookies who will be free agents from the get-go, and just how that's going to affect the trajectory of their careers, and that they're going to really make a solid professional jump. And I'm so happy to see that for them. And at the same time, so I'm like, oh, I could be jealous of that, but I'm actually I'm so happy that it's in such an improved place. And I'm also I love reflecting on my first few years of the Spirit and thinking about how far it's come. Like you mentioned the Plex, and the field at the Plex is amazing, but I think about some of our other accommodations and things like that, and how well we're treated now. And also, even I know my first few years in the league were better than other people's first few years before me. And so just this idea that we're all growing off of the work of people that came before us, and players who, sacrificed a lot just to play the game. And so keeping that idea of working through very difficult things in order to, yes, maybe reap the benefits down the line, but also have other people reap those benefits further when you're done.
It's interesting because, part of the Caitlin Clark story seemed to surround jealousy of previous players who wondered, why was this happening? And she's kind of at the center of it. But it's good for everybody moving forward. And you just said it, you don't feel that way. Like there's no jealousy towards what's coming down the road for the players in the future of this league.
Yeah, I really question that narrative. I honestly don't know a ton about all the dynamics.
Yeah.
But I really question how many people are truly that way. I think that could be a narrative coming from the outside, because I think obviously you just every narrative is a story to compete, and I think some people take that competition and spin it into something else.
Okay. And then, on this topic, a couple weeks ago, McKenna Morris comes on. McKenna Morris grows up in Germantown. She admits she used to sneak in to watch you play. And then all of a sudden she's playing with you in a much larger venue. It's so kind of circle complete in watching things like that happen.
Yeah, I remember pulling up to my first game at the Plex and seeing a young team tailgating in the parking lot before the game. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I used to be that person. And so now it's fun to be the person on the team who's, I've been here a few years. So if there is a local, to feel connected to that person. So it's really fun for me to play with McKenna and share a lot of experiences of growing up and playing in the DMV.
Yeah.
But I think that's also one of the great reasons, like one of the reasons I find a lot of fulfillment in my career is because when I'm playing at home and at Audi in particular, and I meet people that I have some sort of connection with, whether they, played for a coach that I had or went to my high school or know my sister or things like that. And just to be able to feel connected to them in some way, I just want them to know that like whatever they aspire to do with their future, they can do it, whether that's play soccer at a high level or something totally different. Just the idea that if you see something that you want, that you can chase it. And I think that McKenna and I shared that.
It's interesting. I grew up in the area. I played soccer, not at your level, but I played soccer. And I think you and I both know this is the massive sport that's been in this area for generations. And I would assume you would agree that this was a matter of time, that if professional leagues kind of came along in our area, it would be showcased the way that it is. And it's kind of amazing where it seems like it's going right now.
Absolutely. I think there's so many, like the whole DMV is a soccer hotbed, but also within that, there are like micro hotbeds everywhere. And so I think that's why I really enjoyed it is I feel like I, played for my local club and then would follow my sister around and my brother around and meet different people. My mom coached as well. So just being able to like experience different environments is a way that the game grows. And I think that could, really benefit the Spirit in particular if we, get to kind of sort of a pathway directly to our team.
Yeah. Do you see, because this happened here, and I think going back, soccer was already a big deal in the youth circles, but it's now a bigger deal with, I think, the professional outlets that you all provide and showcase. Hockey went through this with Alexander Ovechkin in the area. He showed up, and now there's so many kids playing hockey. And then I look at your team, and I see you and Croy and Trinity, and I see this like opportunity that is there for young girls, young boys, everybody to kind of see this right in front of them. Do you kind of share that mentality about it?
I think it's hilarious you putting my name next to Trinity's and Croy's just because
hey, you're a champion, Andi. Come on now.
I think you're being very generous with that, looping me within with those two, just because I think you're right. Those two in particular, and some other young players we have as well, have an ability to connect with the fan base in a different way than I do and can. And they are they're pure entertainers. Like they are so fun to watch, and their personalities are so like interesting and cool. Honestly, I'm amazed by them all the time. And I think that's, again, we talked about different ways to loop people in. And I think those two in particular so fascinating and so inspiring and so fun to watch and a joy. And that's what the game is about. Like, we all get hooked into it because it's fun, and they remind me of that every day.
Yeah.
So I think they are huge. And like you said, like, you know, local kids coming and seeing them and seeing that they can you know, continue that joy for as long as they are willing to work for it is incredible. And I think you also have the same story. Like you mentioned, young boys as well. And like, yes, they can connect with us as well. But I think DC United has a few characters like that as well. Like I think about Ted DiPietro, and just like, I have played pickup with him in the off seasons, and I just feel like this strong connection to him, even though we're not that close, but like playing with him and talking with him. And every time he's on the field for DC, I'm like rooting for him. And I just feel like we could really brew that like DMV local connection in the professional sphere. And there are also like other players who play in the NWSL who are from, like, there's two other players that went to South County, my high school, that are playing in the league. And I'm like, that's pretty impressive. I don't know if there are other schools like that in the NWSL, you know? So just the possibilities in this area are really endless.
Well, don't downplay. I know you don't think you should be put in the same company with them, but don't downplay the rings, Andi. You got the rings to show for it. So, you know, they're still working towards that one. Let me ask you about the season as a whole, because you've kind of seen it all. Like, we've kind of gone through from where it was to where it is. You guys have won before. You've been on championship teams. What do you make of this season at this point, and where this team could go as we head down the rest of the regular season?
Yeah, it's been an incredible season so far. The fact that we've clinched playoffs so early is a very huge accomplishment and something that, you know, Spirit hasn't done before. But at the same time, it's not enough for us. We are very hungry to perform well, obviously, in the rest of the regular season and get the best place finish possible. But honestly, it's all about the playoffs and getting to that championship again, getting that ring, like you mentioned. And the group is really focused on that and really hungry, but we're the most, like, it's honestly been the most enjoyable season that I've had as a professional. And the fact that it's going the way it's going kind of in year one with this new coaching staff, and honestly, not even full year, only Jonah's been here a few months, is really incredible. And it makes me so tremendously excited for the future, because if we're growing this way now, how good are we going to be in a few years under his leadership it's very exciting. So honestly, the group is just really doing a good job of what can we do better today? What can we do better than we did yesterday? And that's, I think, why we've had such a good year, and hopefully we'll continue to have a good year. Could you
give me an example? Why is this the most enjoyable year of your career?
I think that everything, honestly, the training environment is amazing. That's where we spend, you know, most of our time. Obviously, we love playing in the games, but we do so much in the preparation. And I just feel like the daily competitiveness and the daily demand has been really, really high and really intense, but it also all fits into a philosophy and a foundation that makes you feel like you're growing. It doesn't feel random or sporadic, or it doesn't feel affected by the exterior. It's a very like protected bubble. And I think that's why the games have been going generally so well, is because we're really, really prepared and enjoying getting better every single day.
I'm glad you used the word generally, because I'll leave you with this, because last week we were shocked. I mean, like, because I've gotten so accustomed to seeing the performances of this team collectively, and that one felt just off. So what do you make of last week, and how are you guys looking to bounce back this week against Angel City?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I honestly, it was a bad day at the office, and those happen. And I think the message with us is like, yes, that happens. And I think you're right. It's surprising across the board. I think we're all used to, like, maybe as an individual having a bad day, but honestly, the whole team had a bad day. And I think we've looked at ourselves internally and said, how could we have shifted the momentum to our favor, and we need to be better at that. But honestly, I'm grateful for the lesson now rather than in a playoff situation. So I think it's honestly, we're taking it as a reminder that we need to be hungry every single day, and we can't just rely on our past growth or past performances. It has to be a daily commitment. And I think that was an excellent reminder. And obviously, Kansas City's an amazing team, and they're hot, and they were wanting some revenge from when we had them at home, and they got it. And it's a good reminder for us that we need to be better if we want to compete for that championship.
Andi, thank you so much for all the time and all your shared insight. It's really a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Really appreciate Andi Sullivan there sharing all of her insight. We'll have a full recap of Commanders and Cardinals, and of course, Spirit and Angel City FC on Monday. Bram wants to show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.